Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's Monday morning, and what a week. I decided to take off for vacation with all the happenings that have been going on between Iran and the Ukraine, Russia, China. Everything is popping loose, but the most important thing is that I could fill an entire episode here just in the A block alone with all of the stupidity that's taking place on the Democratic side of the aisle and around this nation, with the thoughts and processes that they are coming up with to try one more time to impeach President Trump. It's absolutely unbelievable and mind-blowing at the stupidity of some of the left aisle people, along with now a handful of people from the right that are just absolutely put out that they were not informed in time for them to run to the news and let out all of the plans the president has for Operation Midnight Hammer.
The gloves are off. The jar has been opened.
The next week is going to be very big, maybe less than a week, maybe less. But is there anybody here that said it would be okay to have a hostile, very, zealots really, but to have a hostile country have a nuclear weapon that could destroy 25 miles, but much more than that, could destroy other nations just by the breeze blowing the dust? That dust blows to other nations and they get decimated. This is just not a threat you can have. And we've been threatened by Iran for many years. If you go back and look at my history, if you go back 15 years, I was saying we cannot let Iran get a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. I mean it more now.
First of all, it's called Operation Midnight Hammer. That was a new detail for all of us. It involved a number of B-2 bombers. That was something that we were tracking, but we found out that they dropped 14 of those massive ordnance penetrators. Those are those giant bombs that we've been calling bunker busters and talking about for the last week or so. They, of course, are the ones that are about 30,000 pounds.
30,000 pounds.
But they're only about 5,000 or 6,000 pounds of actual explosive. Most of that weight is made up of this very strong alloy and material on the outside of the bomb that allows it to penetrate deep into the earth before exploding. That allows it to go as far down as about 200 feet.
My God.
Are you okay, mister?
Ah, what the shit was that?
So when you look at what this looked like before June 20th, this is what the fuel enrichment facility looked like from a satellite view. Now take a look at what happened here. Every single thing that you see here has been actually changed a bit. When you look at this, the June 20th slide, take a look at the facilities up here and over here. Now look, this is gone.
Wow.
This right here is also gone. So these are the kinds of things that happen. And
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye.
The damage is not too bad. As long as the foundations are still strong, we can rebuild this place. Now those foundations are gone. Sorry.
They are put out that they did not get a heads up and a warning so they could leak this out to the press, who in turn would have leaked it across the world to everybody so they could be prepared for it. This is what we had going on through the Bush administration, the Obama administration, and the Biden administration. This is the leakage that gets us in trouble and gets our military people put into worse situations than they need be. This operation went off flawlessly, no matter what the left is going to tell you and what MSNBC, CBS, ABC, and the like are going to try to put down what this operation was and how it was employed. It was a beautiful, beautiful plan. And I'm not sure if it was Hegseth or the president himself that has come up with this plan through very, very measured responses with warnings to the individuals that were in harm's way. Everything was flawless, but yet now we have Congress people such as, Padilla, Jose, Alex Padilla out there trying to say this, that, and the other thing, as well as Jasmine Crockett is very upset that she would not informed about what was going on, and she should have been asked about where these operations were going to take place. Now, if you stop and think about it, folks, let's say that Ilhan Omar and Tlaib Rashid and Jasmine Crockett and several of the other foreigners that sit in our Congress, which really flies all over me that even takes place. They should be born here, and I hope someone has the backbone to put together some legislation to say that, and along with term limits on these people. But these are the biggest leakers that you have in Congress. And you can throw in Bernie Sanders along with that, AOC, and of course that beautiful Pocahontas that comes out of the Massachusetts area that has the mouth bigger than the Grand Canyon, and we have to worry every time Congress is notified about anything. It ends up on NBC, MSNBC, CNN, and all over the world. We don't need to broadcast or telegraph our military movements to anyone. And I think, and I applaud President Trump for not letting it leak out like it has in the last 4 years, and then all of the Obama years. He would literally send them a letter and tell them where he was going to have a troop movement or increasing or decreasing a troop movement, and give the Afghanis and everyone else a heads up. The Taliban was more informed than we were on those administrations. So I don't hold it against anyone, but it's even, I mean, it's craziness that's going on inside our Congress. They have a job to do with the big, beautiful bill, and they still refuse to get this thing done, and they want to rail against keeping dangerous immigrants that crashed into this country illegally. They want to give them more protections than anything else. And then you have a congresswoman out of Texas, and by the way, I've told you this before, highly educated, comes from a very wealthy family, and continues to act like a ghetto person with her speech when she comes out and calling the President of the United States a mofo. Take a look right here.
For those of you that are unaware, the mofo that resides in the White House.
Very presidential.
But I need you to talk to anybody that supports this dude and his agenda. Just think about, like, that dude that you let walk all over you. This dude sitting in the White House, they have decided to be that chick that allows a dude to walk all over them.
Who talks like that?
am telling you right now that I legitimately have had no intel whatsoever. Zero intel as a sitting member of Congress. You could have hollered at us on Monday.
Holler.
No one has consulted specifically with me or anybody in my office to give us any information. You could have hollered at us on Monday.
Yeah, and if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass a hopping.
Now, if you think that is presidential in any way, shape, or form, because this person is going to attempt to run for either president or vice president in the next big election. So they think. But that's, par for the course. Tim Walz thinks he's presidential. He's about as presidential as a fart in a windstorm. But we all know that. And they would love to see the Ayatollah Assahola win on this one, but it's not going to happen. Not with this president. And it's incredible at the amount of Congress people and senators we have that are going to now say that it's illegal and we need to impeach the president over it. And these are Democrats that have imploded into a pile of dog doo since this last election. They never got over the fact that Donald Trump won. They never got over the fact that they are losers because their idea of what should pass in a bill is full of pork for their distribution to people, such as that little crap over in the Ukraine that is now asking for $40 million a quarter more to continue his fight against a Russian nation. It's unbelievable that this guy still exists, never mind asking for more money. He's all over the European theater, meeting with people almost on a daily basis, trying to drum up more money. His army is decimated. He won't admit it. They've got 16-year-olds and probably even 14-year-olds out in the field trying to fill the positions on the front lines. And now he has the audacity to tell Donald Trump that we need to be putting boots on the ground in his front line to defend him against Russia. This president is trying to garner a peace agreement for that region and for the Israeli region, and this is why we had the operation we had, because the crazy mullahs that are in charge of the country of Iran, and Iran is full of wonderful Persian people that should have their government handed back to them, whether it's with the relative of a Shah that is in exile right now, or to reelect somebody that will have their interest, their best interest at hand, rather than these religious nutcases that will kill a woman for not having her headdress on.
Yeah, Madison, for one Iranian immigrant in Bellevue, this escalation in the Middle East is personal. She says she has family in Iran who are political dissidents, and that for years she's been trying to draw attention to what's happening back home. In a Bellevue Park Sunday afternoon, a display of support for a major escalation in the conflict between Iran and Israel, and perhaps now the U.S.
I want to thank to President Trump because he did a great job.
Less than 24 hours ago, the U.S. attacked 3 Iranian nuclear facilities, upending decades of diplomacy.
To be honest with you, I couldn't believe it. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. That's so unbelievable.
Since 2017, Homaira Bakhtiari has been demonstrating at this park, calling for a regime change in her home country of Iran, where she has family.
This is Iran.
Today, she's back with supporters. Some people here are Jewish and say they're happy the U.S. got involved.
I'm really happy to be with my Iranian friends and really advocate for their freedom.
These demonstrators echoed the opinions of many Republicans who justify the attack as a means to prevent Iran from building a nuclear weapon.
Do you think the U.S. should be at war with Iran?
No. I don't think so, but the fact that the United States did this particular attack, which is pinpointed, it destroyed the nuclear facility, is something that President Trump promised to do from the get-go.
Those opinions are in stark contrast to that of many of Washington's elected officials. In a statement, Congressman Adam Smith, who represents Bellevue, condemned the attack, writing, quote, "It could further escalate tensions, destabilize the region, and drag the United States into an avoidable war."
I believe this is unfortunate to say something like that. If they remain in power, not only Iranian gonna die every single day, but also the whole world is gonna be in danger.
While some Republican officials have publicly condemned the attack, political reactions in Washington state appear to largely follow party lines. Washington's two Republican congressmen are backing the president. On social media, Representative Michael Baumgartner wrote, quote, "Letting Iran acquire a nuclear weapon would be suicidal." Meanwhile, Senator Patty Murray, like many other Democrats, called the strike unconstitutional and said, quote, "It is critical that Congress ask important questions before approval. Congress needs to understand what intelligence the administration is acting upon." Addison, back to you.
Christian, thank you.
And this is what's going on over there. This is why these people, these crazies, can never have a nuclear weapon. And this has been told to this country and the world since Donald Trump came down the escalator back in the first administration that he had. It has been dealt with now, and the death blow to their nuclear program was delivered. We are not interested in regime changes. That's up to the Persian people to rise up against what is now hiding in bunkers. And they should hide there. But lest they don't understand that Israel and the Mossad and this president doesn't know where they are, they're under a delusion of safety that doesn't exist. And that is died and true. And what is wrong with our media that they want to carry the Democratic narrative to their end of their careers? They're already on death row. The Democrats are the Humpty Dumpty party. They fell off the wall. They cracked up, and no one can put them back together. Not with the bunch and the likes of what you saw there with Jasmine Crockett. It's incredible. We just can't get over the fact that Donald Trump won this election in a landslide, and the people that voted for him, some are a little upset because the fear being put out by mainstream media that we will be in another forever war is being drummed up and manufactured one more time by the Democratic Party and their propaganda arm of mainstream media. There is enough on this platform, on Truth Social, and also on Rumble that will give you the actual truth of what's really taking place in and around the world and what's going on with regard to bringing peace back across this nation. We're going to end up in a civil war if they keep this division going. And to divide our population one against another is the Democratic plan. This is how they think they're going to take back power in the midterm elections. But I've got news for you. Any thinking person watching what's going on and listening to what these people have to say will quickly realize that that is not going to take place. We don't want any more woke ideals being pushed down our throats, and we don't want any more wars being manipulated by half-thinking, wrong-thinking military people that we have gotten rid of now, and now we have a flawless mission that was flown, and my hat is off to every one of those pilots that made that 36-hour trip into that area to take care of what they were sent there to do without one casualty, without one equipment failure. And this is the way our military should be reacting from here on in. And my hat's off to Pete Hegseth and the rest of the Joint Chiefs that are now doing what they're supposed to do with regard to protecting the people of this country. I know there's a lot of upset going on in the blue states, especially the sanctuary cities around this country, because they feel that the military was sent in with regard to the National Guard. And so in Los Angeles cases, the Marines were placed there to keep peace and put peace back in the street, while the governor was at a wine tasting up in Northern California and could give a darn less about what's going on. And then you have a mayor that is hell-bent on keeping thugs and killers and cartel people safe from ICE. What is wrong with these people? What is wrong with the people of California that keep electing these type of individuals into the seats of power in that particular state? What is wrong with you that you cannot vote these people out of power? These people are they're no better than actors out of Hollywood. And the stunts that are being pulled, look at Jose Padilla, Alex Padilla, as they like to tell you on MSNBC. And it's a racist thing to call him Jose, they say about the vice president. This was a Hollywood stunt act that was put on when he crashed into Kristi Noem's talk. And it's easy to see when they play these things back. You don't go charging in on something. This guy is supposed to be a senator. He should know better. He should have gotten in touch with her people, have his people talk to her people, and say, I'd like to have a meeting. I have some questions I want answered. Or at least go into the news conference and tell them who you are and say, excuse me, I'd like to ask a question. You don't run at a stage shouting and screaming in today's, what goes on today is dangerous. They've taken shots at a presidential candidate. They will think nothing about sending a nutcase in to kill, a secretary. Come on, lighten up. These are acts, just like in New Jersey when they went and body bumped a bunch of agents trying to crash into. All they had to do was ask for entry, and they would have gotten it. It's been told to you by the people in charge that we weren't going to block them from coming in, but they can't rush a gate, break in. That's illegal. And if you get handcuffed because of it, so what? Let's just take a look right here at Jose.
Been able to do this. Hands up, hands up. Federal agents forcibly removed California Senator Alex Padilla from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's news conference in Los Angeles Thursday after he interrupted her.
I'll have a conversation with him and visit and find out really what his concerns were. I think everybody in America would agree that that wasn't appropriate.
The secretary, because the fact of the matter is, a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to hands off. How many of our ICE agents have been docked
On the ground. On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go, I put them behind my back. All right. Cool.
One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
One week later.
Well, I was hoping Jose Padilla would be here to ask a question. But unfortunately, I guess he decided not to show up because there wasn't the theater. And that's all it is. You know, I think everybody realizes that's what this is. It's pure political theater. These guys show up, They want to be captured on camera doing something. They want to be able to go back to their far left groups and to say, look, me, I stood up against border enforcement. I stood up against Donald Trump, when all they're really standing up for is for drug cartels to run rampant over our country and sex traffickers to be able to continue to traffic little kids into our country. That's what you're doing when you stand against border enforcement.
Vice President J.D. Vance served with you in the Senate for multiple years. He is currently the president of the Senate where you serve. He also went to Yale. I assume that he knows your name is Alex Padilla. Your response to him calling you Jose?
Oh, he knows my name. He knows my name. Look, sadly, it's just an indicator of how petty and unserious this administration is. He's the vice president of the United States. You think he'd take the situation in Los Angeles more seriously?
Oh, yes, he's adorable. Do you want to see some pics?
Do I?
Oh, adorable. What's his name? Jose.
Sounds fancy.
This guy is another one that needs to be primaried out of the Senate. He has no business being there. But don't you find it really interesting that they send the unknowns, the lessers, and the black people that are less well known in the Senate and in Congress out to do these acts and stunts so they can sit back and get them blamed for what they did and say, see, well, look, they're trying to malign a senator. This is what these people like Hakeem Jeffries and Booker and Chuck Schumer, they should be ashamed of themselves sending these people out and coming up with these plans. And then you have a senator that gets a guitar and starts to sing to you about how bad the administration is. These people have lost their minds. It's almost incredible. I mean, I could literally fill an entire program, and I may do it this week now that I'm back, with just Stupid Town, because that is how ridiculous it really is. It's unbelievable. But, you know, this administration keeps winning, despite everything they do to try and stop the winning. Even the Supreme Court now, with the judgment on the mutilation of children in the state of Tennessee, was brought to a stop. They got sued by the Obama judges that decided to go against that ruling. And the Supreme Court came back with another win for the Trump administration. When will they learn that this is a win-win situation and a win-win administration? So that got knocked down, and they're not happy about that. Let's take a look here.
If I'm elected president, we will win, and we will win, and we will win. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The U.S. Supreme Court has just upheld a Tennessee law that bans gender-affirming care for minors, even if it's prescribed by a doctor.
I said, say it again. What?
The U.S. Supreme Court has just upheld a Tennessee law that bans gender-affirming care for minors, even if it's prescribed by a doctor. Our chief legal affairs correspondent, Paula Reed, is following all these developments for us. Paula, what can you tell us about the Supreme Court's decision?
Well, this is one of the big cases we've been watching this term because roughly half of states have a ban that is similar to the one in Tennessee. And this focuses on access to certain medications that can facilitate a gender transition. After Tennessee banned minors from accessing these medications for this purpose, families of transgender youth, they brought a lawsuit saying, hey, this violates the Equal Protection Clause, because other minors who are using the same medication for different purposes can still have access to it. But today in this 6-3 decision, it fell along party lines. The Supreme Court affirmed this law in Tennessee. And in the majority, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote, this case carries with it the weight of fierce scientific and policy debates about the safety, efficacy, and propriety of medical treatments in an evolving field. Now, 3 liberal justices dissented. Justice Sonia Sotomayor She wrote the court, quote, abandons transgender children and their families to political whims. And she wrote, quote, in sadness, I dissent.
In sadness, I dissent.
How bad a human being do you have to be? These are bad people. These are sick degenerates.
That was awesome.
Well, that'll bring us into Stupid Town now, and we have a lot in Stupid Town today because it's everything. I didn't put up the ridiculousness yet of The View and some of the things that they've had to say, but we did catch Tarloff in one of the biggest lies that she's ever come up with on that program, The Five on Fox, and we'll see that a little bit of that in Stupid Town. And then also in our Stupid Town segment today, we've got Jim Acosta one more time making a fool of himself. And there's just a lot more that you cannot believe that is taking place today, mostly driven by the Democratic Party and the left side of the aisle, with the new leaders of the Democratic Party that make fools of themselves constantly. So let's take a walk right here and take an exit into Stupid Town and see what's going on.
The far right in this country has kind of figured out a way to infiltrate, the heartland and to, basically pull, mom and pop from the farm to their point of view. And as it turns out, a lot of those folks vote in these elections. And a lot of those folks have been completely led astray. I hate to say it, but they've just been completely led astray. And we've all just let this happen on our watch with essentially a business model for delivering the news in this country that just does not work anymore.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
I don't even talk about CNN. CNN's sort of like, I don't know, they're pathetic, actually. These people are really, they lie. They shouldn't be allowed to lie every night. They are really a vehicle of the Democrat Party. That's why they call it fake news. That's why they call it fake news.
Trump was right.
I'm from New Jersey.
Now to this story, a controversial questionnaire has parents in New Jersey talking. It's asking new parents about their baby's sexual orientation and gender identity.
Parents of newborns are used to filling out a lot of forms with a lot of questions about their babies. But one New Jersey mom-to-be got questions she never expected.
Is your baby straight, gay, bisexual, genderqueer?
New Jersey State Senator Holly Schapese found out about it when the mom posted this picture on social media.
And it's so absurd and so ridiculous.
The mom received the questionnaire from Vineland Hospital and the Inspira Health Network, but hospitals across the state of New Jersey have sent out the same form asking about the gender identity and sexual orientation of babies.
We're not gonna make it, are we? People, I mean.
It's in your nature to destroy yourselves.
In a statement, the company now says Inspira Health will request this information from adults. This update in protocol remains compliant with the law. Responding to calls from Action News, the New Jersey Department of Health says data like sexual orientation should be collected in a, quote, culturally competent manner, including patient populations for which certain data may not be appropriate, as in the case for newborns. The mom who originally posted that controversial form told me she's heard from other moms who have gotten the same form from other New Jersey hospitals.
God, if you're out there, I know I don't deserve it, but I need your help. Send a meteor. Anything. Please. Now.
Trump derangement syndrome. Hatred of Donald Trump so intense that it impairs people's judgment.
So, Stuart, while Obama is sounding the alarm about democracy, the New York Times reports that the DNC is in chaos, that they're desperate for cash. They say Obama is headlining a DNC fundraiser next month at the home of New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy. Is this a sign of the state of the Democratic Party? The top messenger and fundraiser is somebody who hasn't been in office for nearly a decade.
Yeah, you know, I think the biggest problem with the Democratic Party is they ought to shut up about the Democratic Party. I mean, I really don't understand this. They're like a bunch of doctors. They have a patient walk into the emergency room with a nail in his head, and they're having a focus group about why the guy has a headache. Look, you have the most dangerous president that has existed certainly since the Civil War. And we have a situation here where it's obvious what they should do. They should wake up every day and attack Trump and attack Trumpism. Bruh. They should wake up every day and attack Trump. Attack Trump.
That's all we do.
Do you have any sevens?
Trump sweeping all 7 battleground states.
And you ain't black.
Lifting his total number of electoral college votes to 312, the most won by a GOP presidential candidate since 1988. That was before I graduated from high school.
Well, that's our Stupid Town segment for today. And here it is, the 23rd of June. We're getting ready to enter July, and our Congress is still holding up any hope that July 4th date will be a passage of this new big, beautiful bill that is so badly needed for not only our economy, but the tax cuts that the American people need to have. And the economy turning around and the interest rates lowering so we can have home buyers again and we can have people that'll go out and buy the goods. And this whole holdup is based on what the left side of the aisle and some of the right side of the aisle are screaming about. Tariffs are the problem. We're spending too much money. Anyone that's ever been in business, folks, will quickly understand and quickly tell you that you have to spend money to make money. And the more money that is put into this economy, the more return you're going to have on that investment. And the return on the investment will come out of the mom and pop segment and bring back once again to the forefront the middle class in this country, and the hell with the elites that are trying to hold all this up. So as I tell you all the time, write your Congress people, write your senators, and tell them to get off the dime and make you happy one more time. Make America happy again. Make America safe again. We already are on our way to doing that. The left side would like to see us in a civil war. The media is the propaganda arm of the left side and would like to see more of that as well. They thrive on the riots and getting their news crews out. These are not peaceful demonstrations. Some are, and everybody has a First Amendment right, and that's true. But it's not working that way. This is being driven and backed by people like Soros and his son, and never, ever doubt that. There are foreign entities that are backing these particular protests that you're seeing. But now that all of this is taking place and Iran is taking the news cycle, you're not hearing too much about the Palestinian protesters because they've changed flags and gone into the street now with Iranian flags and anti-Trump, more anti-Trump slogans. So pay no attention to mainstream media. Give them the ratings they deserve. Turn them off, and you'll be a lot healthier, wealthier, and wise for doing so. And with that, we're going to say, stay safe, stay strong, and stay tuned to the Kaiser Report. We're back, and we're going to have a week of fun here, especially in the Stupid Town segment. So until tomorrow, we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye now.